You are standing in a Texas pasture in early 2022, and the ground is torn to shreds. Feral hogs have rooted it raw, soil overturned, fencing collapsed, water pooling in the churned mud. Before last year, a farmer could expect 3 to 5 hog sightings weekly on his trail cameras. Now, in the spring of 2023, the cameras catch nothing but empty grass. 6 million feral hogs once ranged across America, eating $1.5 billion worth of crops every year. They bred 2 litters annually, 6 piglets each, females fertile at 6 months old. They were, quite simply, the hardest invasive species we have ever tried to kill. Now sit with this. Across Texas, Oklahoma, Florida, and beyond, they started vanishing. Not slowly, not predictably, vanishing. I am Dr. Hendrik Bale, and I have spent my career studying what happens when an invasive population collapses. 20 years tracking these populations, following the data as it shifted beneath my feet. What I am about to show you is the story of how that collapse began, and what was really driving it. Between 2022 and 2024, hunters reported feral hogs disappearing from areas where they had been abundant for decades. Aerial gunning crews, our most effective control tool, could not account for the losses they were seeing. Camera data from state wildlife agencies showed the same pattern: fewer hogs, fewer sightings, fewer root scars on the land. Wildlife officials were puzzled because we had not increased our control efforts enough to explain this. To suppress hogs at all, we need to remove 66 to 70% of a population yearly. No one was doing that across multiple states simultaneously. Yet something was removing them anyway. And here is where it gets interesting. On some of those dead hogs, farmers and hunters found something strange. Unusual symptoms, patterns that did not fit any disease we expected. The bodies were the first clue, and investigating them changed everything we thought we knew. Stay with me, because by the end, you will understand how nature solved a problem we had nearly given up on. So farmers were finding dead hogs, and something about them was wrong in a way gunfire and traps could never explain. You are standing in a Texas pasture in the summer of 2023, heat rising off cracked earth, a carcass ahead. The hog is bloated, its skin has split, vultures have worked it over. But before scavengers took it, someone saw the insides, and that is when the calls started going out. I got word through the network, state veterinarians, USDA Wildlife Services, the National Wildlife Health Center in Wisconsin. That center is where every dead wildlife mystery in America ends up on a steel table. The pattern was strange. Dead hogs were not scattered randomly across the landscape. They clustered, 2 here, 4 there, 8 in a creek bottom 2 miles south. That clustering matters because sounders do not mix. A sounder of 12 related females stays in its own range. If a pathogen kills most of a sounder, you see them in tight groups, not spread across 10 counties. I needed tissue samples, and I needed them fast, because in July heat, a carcass is only good for 48 hours. Blowflies and heat destroy the organs that tell you everything. The team moved quick, opening chest cavities, looking at lymph nodes, spleen, liver, kidneys. Hemorrhagic lesions, swollen organs, blood pooled where it should not be. These were not animals that starved or got shot. These were animals that bled from the inside. Samples went into formalin, into viral transport media, into coolers headed north. At the NWHC and the Veterinary Services Labs in Ames and Kansas, they ran PCR, the molecular test that finds viral DNA in hours. What they found was moving faster through the population than anything we had documented before. The transmission velocity was extraordinary, a pathogen traveling the movement corridors where sounders overlapped and mixed. I had to understand what it was before it spread past, where we could even track it. And here is where the investigation turned towards something that would reshape everything we thought we knew about controlling feral hogs. Now, those tissue samples under the microscope revealed a name we had not expected to see in a feral pig population here. African swine fever, ASFV, a virus that has never been seen in the wild across North America until now. Let me be direct about what this pathogen does inside a pig's body, because the mechanism is exactly why it spreads so fast. The virus attacks the lymph nodes first, then the spleen, then the kidneys begin to hemorrhage internally. A pig infected with ASFV shows fever, sometimes 105 degrees or higher, for between 4 and 19 days before symptoms appear outside. 4 to 19 days. During that entire window, the animal sheds virus into every sounder it contacts, every wallow it shares, every water source it drinks from. This is the silent spreader I mentioned. The hog looks healthy while it is actively poisoning the ground around it. ASFV is a DNA virus, not RNA like many others. It is extraordinarily stable in the environment, surviving in soil for weeks, in blood and carcass material for months. When a feral hog roots, and you have seen them do this, tearing up acres of pasture, it brings buried virus to the surface. That rooting spreads infection across the sounder's territory and beyond, into the next territory and the next. The boars, those solitary males, travel dozens of miles during breeding season. They become the long-distance couriers. From Texas to Oklahoma, across Florida's marshes, into the Carolinas, the virus was moving through the population like water, finding every crack. Mortality rates in feral hogs approach 100% in the acute form. No vaccine exists. No cure exists. Here is the part that made every farmer I know stop and ask the same question. Where did this come from? ASFV was first documented scientifically in Kenya in 1921, killing domestic pigs that contacted wild warthogs and bush pigs. For a century it remained locked in Africa, maintained in wildlife reservoirs that never show symptoms themselves. Now it was here, in America, spreading through 6 million animals like they were waiting for it. And this is where the breakthrough becomes complicated, because the virus that stopped the hogs is not a solution we chose. It chose us. Now that we know what the killer is, here is where it gets dangerous. African swine fever has a 100% kill rate in naive pig populations. It has devastated China, Europe, the Caribbean. Everywhere it touches, it burns through. You are standing in a biosecurity office at the USDA in the spring of 2024. On your desk sits a map of feral hog range, overlaid with domestic pig CAFOs. The dots almost touch. Some already do in Texas and the Southeast. This is the double edge. The disease collapsing the feral population is also a threat. A single infected hog near a concentrated animal feeding operation could cost the industry billions. The US pork sector is worth $26 billion annually and supplies global markets. A confirmed ASF detection in US swine, even feral swine, triggers trade embargoes immediately. Japan stops buying, South Korea stops buying, export revenue collapses overnight. And here is what I have to be honest about. We do not yet know the full picture. As ASFV spreads through feral hogs across multiple states, the virus could mutate or persist. European wild boar have sustained ASF as a permanent reservoir for over a decade. If that happens here, we do not have a vaccine, we do not have a cure. We have only surveillance, biosecurity barriers, and the hope the outbreak burns itself clean. But remember the framework we walked. The clue in the carcasses led us to the pathogen. The pathogen revealed the mechanism. Silence spread through hidden contact and long-distance boar movement. And the mechanism showed us the stakes. The accidental solution to one crisis is the doorway to another. Next time you see a feral hog on a trail camera or in a field, you are seeing the front line. You are seeing the space where two populations, wild and domestic, meet in the dark. The question is not whether nature will solve our hog problem. It already is. The question is whether we can manage what solves it before the solution becomes the catastrophe. I want to know, have you seen the signs yourself? Dead hogs, empty feeding patterns, changed land. I read every comment, and this one matters to me. Send it in. Because the next move belongs to all of us now.